Hello, product people. Welcome to the Product for Product podcast, hosted by Matt Green, data advocate and product manager, and Masha Mikanovsky, product leader and author. Our goal is to serve the product community by helping you find products that can help make your work in product management easier. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Product for Product podcast.
Welcome back. In today's episode, Miche and I are welcoming back product leader and author David Pereira to talk about his new book, Untrapping Product Teams. So let's dive in. How you doing, David?
I'm doing great. Happy to be back here.
So happy to have you. Hey, Miche.
Hey, Matt. Hey, David. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while since you joined us. I don't even remember the episode number, but I remember we talked about mind mapping, one of your favorite tools, but it's been a while. I think at least 2 years, if not more.
It's quite interesting, and I still use that.
Yeah, it's an amazing tool, so why not, right?
Yep.
Today you're here with us to also celebrate your new book. I see it in behind you. Maybe you want to bring it. I know we're not releasing yet video, but maybe in the future we will. I did see your video on LinkedIn that you went to the post office to get your package, or maybe it was an Amazon collection center or whatever it was. And you opened the book. You look like a little kid on Christmas.
It was something I cannot put into words. Like, it was awesome. You know, it was funny because I was waiting for the book, and then somehow they stopped in front of the house, and I got the notification. You have to pick at the station. I said, seriously? I said, whatever. I'm gonna go after this.
Yes.
And once I got the box there, my heartbeat was just accelerating, and I got the book, and I was it's so crazy, like touching this. And it's different because the digital version was already out, but I didn't have this feeling. I was proud of the digital version. I was already excited about it, but touching the book, looking at the quality and all the material for the first time, that was awesome.
Yeah. There is no. You're absolutely right. There is no way to explain that feeling. I remember that also when I released my book. I did get the package at home, so there it was. But I also made sure to have the unpackaging video because you can see that.
Yeah. There's something special about that. The tangible experience of like touching your thoughts in a physical form. That's pretty cool. And
it's a product, it's not like it's like any other product that you have something substantial in your hands, or I mean, even digital products, when we see the user interface and it changes or it evolves and stuff like that, that's exciting too.
Yeah.
Right. So tell us a bit. So we know where you released the book, and we're going to talk about the book in length today, but tell us a bit about what have you been up to since we talked last time?
Oh, many things happened since last time. I think it was around 2 years ago. I moved more to leadership, I think. Back then, I was still more into product manager and head of product, probably. And what happened is, one thing is really amazing. The more you expose your ideas, the more opportunities present themselves to you. So that's what happened in summary around the last 2 years. I think I went to several conferences, giving keynotes, talking to many people. And that's how I started writing a book. And one of the things that happened, I got the position I have right now as a CEO and CPO at omoqo through my Agile Product Manifesto, which I co-authored with other 10 people. So they got interested. I started being an interim CPO and eventually joined them as a full-time. So I'm doing that. So I have this full-time, very demanding and challenging CEO and CPO. It's quite new to me, but I'm excited because it is again about bringing a new product to the market. So that's the reason I joined, because we are crafting something to bring to the market. And on my side time, I still do the things I was doing: blogging, speaking, podcasting, and I got the book out because this is a hobby that I love so much. Passionate about sharing experience about product management, what to do, what not to do, what helped me, what didn't happen. So that's what I'm up for.
Yeah, amazing.
That's great.
And I mean, a couple of things over there that are really interesting. You mentioned, a CEO, and we always talk about, product managers and product managers' positions and stuff like that. And usually kind of the highest position is maybe a CPO, Chief Product Officer. But I've seen many product managers that actually moving into managing entire companies because, to manage, it is different. We're not the CEOs of the product, but still we learn so much about the business and about what works, what doesn't work, and about how to do things, how not to do things, and stuff like that, that it's quite natural also to become CEOs.
It was something unexpected what happened. I was the interim CPO and I was not considering coming full in, but the investors kept telling me, hey, come full in and so on. Then we had a chat about it. So they presented an offer and it was beginning of 2023. So I feared recession and I was thinking, so what am I going to do? Do I keep freelancing, consulting and so on and hope for the best, which was going quite well, but I thought, I like the challenge. The challenge is pretty interesting. And I said, why not? And we agreed that I could still keep doing my things on the side and said, let me do it. So the next day I went there to talk about it and probably sign it. Said, yeah, but actually we want you as the CEO. I said, what?
Surprise.
And I said, oh. And I said, oh, that's unexpected. I said, the thing is, my foot are like this, and this position is at least twice the size of my foot. It just doesn't fit. It's too big for me. I lack experience on that. I said CPO is already too high for me, and I'm doing my best at it. And I said, yeah, but that's the thing. We are a startup. We are before going to the market. It's all about the product, and we can help you become the CEO. And then we go on the way together and so on, and you develop. And my curiosity was just stronger than my fear. And I said, well, let's do it.
Yeah,
That's
amazing.
awesome. That's a great point.
Great. Yeah,
it's a great point.
And it's very inspiring for other people to see that you don't need to. I mean, even if you love product management, there are other opportunities out there that could happen, and you just have to be more curious and less afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think product managers are in a unique position because we touch so many different areas of the business. So you have to know a bit of finance. You have to know the viability of your product, go to market, talk to sales, customer success. So becoming a CEO it may sound like a big departure, but what I don't want to say the CEO of your product. You don't want to be the CEO of the product. We've all heard that that used before, but PMs have a unique position to where you do have to know a bit of everything. And so I think it does translate well to a CEO. I know that's a big step up, but that's exciting for you.
It is. But I confess I didn't give away the bone of the product. So as we are quite small, I accumulate the roles, CPO. I'm learning how to delegate until it hurts. So before I was still quite involved in the product, at least in the direction. I was not telling people what they should do because I said, I'm not going to be the CEO I hated the most. I'm going to be the empowering CEO. But I learned that sometimes people do need some more guidance and presence with space. So you need to know when to step in, when to step out, and so on. Yeah, there is a certain balance. But I still accumulated the CPO. I don't plan to hire a CPO at this stage, but as we grow, of course, then it's something that will need to happen.
Yeah. Another thing that you mentioned is the Agile Product Manifesto, which could be a whole, maybe we should make it into a whole other episode, because, there is a discussion there to be had. Maybe just one quick sentence about it, and then we jump into the book, because that's what we're here for today. And we're, so go ahead.
Sure. So I worked with product for a while, and what I realized, lots of discussions about Agile and done and so on. I like Agile, but I think it was created in a different scenario and situation. And when I read working software is a primary measure of success, that scares me because having the working software doesn't mean anything. And there is another thing that stakeholders and developers should work day in and day out and so on, but doesn't give the guidance. You can get them to work day in and day out, and they will pressure software engineers to do more of what they want, which doesn't mean it's what customers need. So when I reflected on this, I said, the Agile Manifesto helped us to create better software, but it doesn't help us create better product.
Right.
So I thought I connect very much to the values, but the principles I think they need some, some adaptation. So I called it out, and then I decided to create something different. I made a draft initially, and then I got together with more people to craft a product manifesto. But then in the end, I called this Agile Product Manifesto because it still relates to Agile. And what I try finding is the intersection between product and Agile. I don't think they are separated. I think the beauty happens when we can find the intersection.
Yeah.
So that's what we did.
Mhm.
And if you want to connect to the book, there was something that happened that led to some new next steps about the book. Jim Highsmith, the co-author of the Agile Manifesto, dropped me a message after that. He wanted to chat. And he told me that actually he believed that there were some things that could be different. And he even said, if we would get all of the 16 people who signed together in the same room, we cannot agree on what good looks like. We cannot agree on the principles anymore. So for sure, there's something new that needs to come. And then we exchanged about it and so on. And I started talking to him. And in the end, he helped me with the book. As you can see, he gave a forward, but not only that, he helped with way more things.
Very nice, very nice. Where can people find the manifesto?
It's agileproductmanifesto.com. You can find
Okay,
that.
very simple. Okay, perfect. So let's dive into the book, Untrapping Product Teams. And one of the things that I really enjoyed about reading in the book is the stories that you're telling over there. You are a storyteller for sure. You need to write fiction one day. I'm giving you here. I'm giving
As
you
a
a
fiction
challenge.
author.
I've done that already. Now I have
Yeah.
to write a product book, but I'm giving you a challenge there. You are a good storyteller. And you really put many different examples from your own life, your own experience, how you learned about things. Things like your first day on a job and what happened over there, some nightmares with some works that you did without knowing things, driving from I think was it Munich to Vienna or like on the road and changing your journey because of things that happen, and how this really resonate with you. And I really felt that like the restaurant store that you were giving about this El Buri, I don't remember the name, but it really bring people into like the real world and examples that are outside of product management, and then you apply to it's exactly the same in product management. So if we just think about it like how this is how things happen in the real world and how other businesses can be successful in the real world, we can apply the same methods or the same. Was that part of your intention, how to actually teach people?
Yeah. So when I thought about the book, the reason I decided to write it is because I'm normal. I am like almost all people who haven't had any experience with the great tech companies, the ones that are creating outstanding product, and they may have the best way of creating and all the funds necessary. I have been part of the companies that have no idea what creating digital product is. And then you receive all the pressure and the business needs to survive. And that's what happens in reality. And I have been full-time employee now, at least in 10, 11 companies, something like that. I have seen the same all over the place. And I talk to people, I see the same. But then when I read most of the books, what I see is something based on the Silicon Valley, which is amazing, should inspire us. I'm not saying this is wrong, but that is not the reality of most people I know. So I said, I want to talk to most people I know. What do most people I know do? They also travel. They go here, they go there, they go to restaurants. So I said, what if I tell stories that will connect to them and help them come to the product world with me? Because when I started my journey, I didn't have a good product coach to help me. I didn't have that. So I try to imagine talking to myself in different moments of my life. What would help me and so on. So that's what I tried to do with the book, and I wanted to be conversational. I didn't want to give people like, this is what you should be doing, the rest is wrong. I don't think it's like that. So I said, I'm gonna give you stories that inspire, may resonate with you. You decide to take action or not, but I want to bring it down to reality of most people. So that was my goal.
Yeah. And it works. It definitely works. I can tell you that that was probably maybe because I know a lot of the concepts, I'm practicing them, I taught them, I'm reading them in other books. Here I was like looking for, okay, what story is he going to tell next? And
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for those indented area because I knew that's how you start a story. Like, oh, okay, now I'm going to read a story here. And maybe because I like reading stories also, so I enjoy that. What's the story there? But tell us a bit about the structure of the book as well, because this is about untrapping product teams. So you do have specific structure about what makes them trapped, how to be untrapped, and then how to remain untrapped. So tell us a bit more about that.
Sure. What I imagine is, regardless you are working or you get a new job or you're breaking into product, the very first thing you have to do is to face reality as fast as possible. How do you do that? You need to understand the different things that are happening. So I call this as understanding reality. So it's like the very first part. So you face reality so you can figure out what is going on. How do we work? Do we work in a collaborative way, in a coordinative way? What is the kind of mindset we have here? Is it a growth mindset? Is it a fixed mindset? What kind of challenge do we face? What things get in the way of creating product? And this is about facing reality so then you can do something differently. So the second part is about untrapping product teams. So equipping them to break free from all the traps I described on the first part. And that is where the biggest part of the book is concentrated. So we have several chapters there that we go from the main ingredient. So that's where the story of El Bulli is, trying to picture that out. Then we go to product strategy, delivery, discovery, measuring results, stakeholder management, team setup, and all of this. So here is about giving perspectives, where you can act, what you can do differently. In the end, the last part, it is about remaining untrapped. Because reality is, there is no comfort zone. Creating digital products means being comfortable with the uncomfortable. If you sit and relax, something is going to slide and then you fall prey to the traps. So what are the elements you can bring to the game that you continuously, even if you are on top, you can go there and challenge yourself and figure out where you can act. So that is the structure. Face challenge, overcome them, and bring the ingredients so they don't come back, or you can react if they come back.
Mm-hmm.
Something that stood out to me, you mentioned collaborative workflows and coordinative workflows. Maybe if you could speak to those real quick, like they sound very similar, like you're coordinating, you're collaborating, but like there's obviously a distinction there. And so if you could
Yes,
speak to a little bit of that.
sure. The coordinative one is how most companies I have seen work. It's simple. It's something like this. Everyone has a specific role and responsibility. When things go wrong, you know who to blame. But also, it is loaded with discussions. It's more common to talk about work instead of doing the work. So what I'm saying here, everything starts the same way, regardless of collaborative or coordinative. You have a bunch of ideas from different places that you need to address. In a coordinative one, you're going to discuss the ideas until you find the most promising one. So you have to coordinate how you're going to bring this idea to life. So there will be a lot of coordination between different departments and so on. The collaborative one, if things go wrong, you don't know who to blame because everyone is collaborating. Teams will spend more time doing the work instead of discussing the work. There's a mindset behind it, which is instead of saying like, how can we accelerate delivery? The question is different. How fast can we drop bad ideas? So when you go in the beginning, remember I said there are a bunch of ideas everyone wants. Coordinative, you discuss them. And a collaborative one, you challenge them. You say, how do they support our product strategy? How do they support our vision? How do they support where we want to be? If you don't have answers, you just remove them. You just collaborate. Say, all right, now we have the others. How do we move on here? So you are trying to confront it with reality. You don't care about roles. You care about progress. And you care about doing what makes most sense. So that is a more collaborative. So that's why I say like one is coordinating activities and the other is collaborating to deliver value.
So yeah, ultimately the collaborative will get you more to better outcomes than the coordinative, which ultimately gets outputs because you're
Yes.
not discussing it and you're not interrogating it to determine what's best for the business and what's best for the product.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Excellent. Yeah, I like that a lot. That really resonated with me going through this. So,
Yeah.
because I've been in both spots before, and so you don't really know you're in it until you step out of it, and you're like, oh, this is actually what was happening. And I think that's what most people probably wind up. They don't know what situation they're in because they're not looking at it strategically, and they're just kind of going along with the flow.
Correct. And that was the start of my life.
Mm.
I didn't know that. And things
Mhm.
start changing actually the moment I started coaching, because then I started stepping back and looking there. I said, oh, so there are some things we can do here. And I started, everything that is written in the book I tested before. So I saw what would work. Many things that didn't work, they are not in the book. So I put more
Yeah.
like what worked for me in general. So, and I realized if you have the chance of having a more strategic view, a different flight level, you have a better chance of driving change.
No, who is the book for? Because we've seen recent books, and one book in particular that was released recently, Transformed by Marty Kagan, and there was a lot of talk there about who should read it and can they really make change in the organization when they read it or stuff like that. And when I read the book, there is a lot of really learning for any level in the product management about what is product management. But we know that if you are individual contributor, product manager in a team, and you have a whole product, infrastructure and levels in the organization that manage product, sometimes it's very hard to make those changes, even if you know that something is wrong. So what's your take on this? Like, who should read the book, and then how can they actually not just apply it, but make a real change in the organization to go from they know they are in the wrong place, they love the place, but they love, maybe they love the product, they don't want to change their job just because they don't like how things are running. So what's your take on that?
I wrote the book from a product manager perspective, so they should be the primary audience. And why? Because it will help them use what is available for them so they can do something. And in the book, I make it very clear, whatever change you're trying to drive, it will be a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time. And what I encourage in the book is take one of the things that speak to you here and try driving that specific change. Don't preach, act, show results. So I wrote from this perspective. So product managers will get some things that they can immediately do. I can tell you, if you're trapped in a feature factory, you can start naming assumptions and testing them. And then you bring to a dialogue. So that's what I say. And then you collaborate, you find ways to do. Of course, if product leads, or let's say leaders, different levels, head of product, CPO, will read the book, they will find things that, what are the elements I can bring to my team so they can thrive. So you're going to find these as well, but they are not the primary audience. So if they want to read it, they will benefit. And everyone in a product team would also get benefit because they are creating digital products. But the primary ones who will find, let's say, the thing I can do right now will be product managers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's great. And I think sometimes I probably had the same problem myself, but it's also a bit of personality as well. Sometimes people are afraid to try things that they don't feel they have authority to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned, many times, sometimes the hard way, but I learned that if you do things, and then you show the results, your managers will usually be really happy about it, because even if they didn't directly told you this is the results we want, they still have in their back of their mind that this is the results they want. And I had I was looking for a product, and I needed a new product to use in my tool set. Instead of asking for permission, I just implemented it. And these days it's so easy with the free versions. And then I was the owner also of the backlog, so I put the integration story on the top, and I told the developers I need this, so they just did it. So I had the power there, but only after I tried it and showed and created some results, I showed it to my manager and I asked for the budget to approve it.
Implement it.
And he said, when he came to the meeting, he thought he's going to reject it because he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And then that's how he told me. I thought I will reject it. But now that you show me this, I'm like, that's very easy decision to make. So the product managers do have the powers to do many things. They just have to realize these are the powers. So I'm really glad that you did it in that way in the book. So I do encourage every product manager to read it.
Thank you.
Take the initiative. Take the initiative, right? So
take the initiative. Yeah, and in this direction, what I see is the following. There's a lot of talk about empowerment, but empowerment, it is not a given. You must earn it. And the question is, how do you earn it? So you earn it by showing intention of helping. And the question is how do you get something so people will start trusting more in yourself? So instead of challenging, like, what is this feature for? What should we be doing? And so on. No, just get hands-on. And if you have a genuine intention of helping and you show something, show results and so on, people will listen because you're doing your job. But sometimes I see people start on the discussion mode. So someone brings the feature and you know that feature is not going to fly, but you are trapped in a feature factory. You can challenge as much as you want. You will be pushed to deliver the feature. But what if you just step back and say, hey, what are the assumptions here? We assume customers will understand how to use it. We assume they will pay for that. How can we test this in a couple of hours? How can we test this maybe in a day? So you run experiments and then you show results, experiments, and say, hey, I know we are about to implement this feature, but I did some exercise here. Here's what I learned, and I want your perspective. Once you show evidence, it is very hard for people to deny what they are seeing. Then you can bring to a dialogue. Then you can change things. But if you go in a discussion, you are going with empty hands. There's nothing you can do there.
Absolutely. And maybe this is also part of product managers that don't know, don't have that experience, don't have all the failures in their past to learn from that. And it goes also not just to how they do work, but also to the product itself. So the same mistakes that they do in the product, they may do in the way they work. So it all evolves together, I always see. Like, don't you, after so many years in product, don't you feel or do anything that you do is a product? Like, that's how I feel these days. Like, everything I do is a product, and it doesn't matter what it is.
Same here. Same here.
It's the attitude, right? So for me, it's like something I use from Ashmore a lot is your learning speed is your unfair advantage. And then it's like, start small. So you have a go, start small, and then see what happens. So everything is a product. I treat the book as a physical product, but I use my techniques. Everything that's written in the book, I use it for the book. I post on LinkedIn first to see demand. And then as people reacted, I interviewed loads of people. Then I created a survey. So then I started escalating because I noticed, yes, there's interest in certain area here. But I had a big question. Can I write a book? And can I write the book in a way that I convey the message I want? So that was something. So what I did, for example, I used my newsletter. I created a premium version. And then I said, so I'm going to write something that is 25 to 30 minutes reading time, and I will see how people react. But then I said, I want to see if they are really curious about it. I put this premium, and then it converted around 100 people. And I interviewed some of them. And I asked, what did you get from this? And I want to see if they would tell me what I wanted to hear. And they didn't. So I failed the first experiment, and then I learned what they got and where they got confused. So I tried a second experiment, adapting to these points and so on. And that's the moment I started adding more storytelling, more examples. That's what helped people learn. And then after that, I said, I'm going to run a round of beta readings as I create the book so I can iterate. So I use loads of digital product management techniques to create the book. So everything I do nowadays, I use product management because that helps me ensure that I pursue an idea that is worth pursuing. And an idea that's not worth pursuing, I drop it.
You went towards the collaborative approach. You weren't doing the coordinative approach or discussing it. You weren't going to them and saying, this is what I'm doing here. Let's talk about it. You were actually trying to collaborate and get, again, going back to your point, interrogating your assumptions and getting to what you really needed to do. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I also noticed you didn't mention the word MVP there. I don't know. I don't remember your opinion about MVP specifically, but many people are still using that and whatever. Do you think that your first experiment that you put that quick read and through your newsletter, you got the first readers to read it? Do you think that was your MVP?
I could say that. There was a reason I didn't put the term MVP. It's loaded. So if I put the term there, I need to explain what it is, what I think, what happens. So I said, do I want to open this Pandora box here? I said, I'm
Yeah.
not going to open this one.
Yeah.
But for me, the concept behind it is amazing. And what people don't get it right is an MVP is a way of learning a few things and then you decide what to do next.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I did my MVP with my newsletter. That's right. And the first manuscript, you had access to one of the versions there, is in Google Docs. But at some point, Google Docs was not scalable for me to collect feedback. So I moved to another tool called Help This Book, and then everyone could provide feedback on that part. So that helped me. And one of the key things about MVP is if you're not a little bit embarrassed and if that doesn't scare you, it means you are overshooting.
Yeah.
So you need to have a vertical good experience on something, but not everything is perfect. So you get it out and then you learn. So only when that becomes not scalable anymore, it's time for you to change. So using the Google Docs was fine with 6 beta readers. Then the second round was okay, had another 6. But the moment I got to 30, well, I couldn't grasp what was happening. What do people like? What don't they like? Where do I lose it? I couldn't see this picture. So I said, I'm getting lost here. So I needed something different, but only when I needed, I acted. So
Yes.
the big question is like, how can you get hands-on and accelerate your learning? But learning means exposing yourself. And this is what doesn't happen that much. If we are in a room speculating, we start talking, hey, let's write a book together, and then we start talking. That doesn't work. I would say, let's open LinkedIn, let's make a post here about what we're thinking, and let's see how people react.
Which is actually a really ties into the theme of our podcast, which are the tools that we're using. And you mentioned a couple of tools and how you migrated from one tool to another tool to help you with your process. We usually don't cover tools for authors, but similarly to that, sometimes we will choose one tool like for analytics, let's say Google Analytics, and then as times goes by, we're like, maybe this is not enough. Maybe we need to upgrade to something else that actually give us a much better understanding of our product, of our usage, more access to the users, more segmentations of the users, and different things like that. So that's another story from the author lives in parallels to product life.
Going back to the book real quick. So if you realize so I guess the first step is to realize you're trapped, right? So to realize you're in a trap. And then once you realize you're in a trap, to do something about it, to untrap yourself. But then how do you maintain it? Because we've all been in situations, whether it's professional, personal, where you backslide, where everybody kind of goes, okay, this is interesting, let's do it. Momentum slows down. It's hard to get everybody continuously like doing something, especially if you're an individual contributor, like a PM, or if you're not a CPO, trying to get everybody to migrate to do something different. So like you mentioned health checks. So, going back and saying, okay, we've now untrapped ourselves. Let's make sure we don't get back into it. So, how might that be accomplished?
It's about the frequency.
Okay.
So you need to establish some routine there and make it easier for you to make it happen. Because if you don't, you slide. So when I talk about the health checks, I say some health checks do every 3 months. So every 3 months you go there and you check how are your product delivery practices, how is your product discovery and the strategy and so on. And then you are going to find something and say, hey, let's commit to a few chains here. And you don't need to commit like to 300 chains. I would say one is better than none. That's already a start. You don't need more than that. So if you want to commit to more, see more opportunities, top that to 3. Don't go more than that, because then you start being overwhelmed with the amount of chains and so on. But one of the aspects that you keep being motivated to drive change is when you see the value created. and probably you receive good feedback, and then the team's morale change, and then you start seeing, hey, something is happening here. It is getting way different, and so on. And people start asking you. That's what is going to happen. In some places I worked, for example, I remember I arrived there. I think this story is that we had a gigantic backlog. So I started deleting items.
Yeah.
And I deleted loads of items. And what happened after that is the team was way more committed. And we talked more about things that matter. And that team started outperforming all the other teams. And then the PM started coming to me, hey, what's going on? What did you do? And so on. And I said, well, I did something, and I did something a bit stupid. I said, I'm not good dealing with loads of information. I panicked, so I removed almost everything from the backlog. The PM, how dare you? You cannot do that. And I said, well, actually, that helped quite a lot. And now we are collaborating more with stakeholders. We talk, and then we commit, and then we adapt, and so on. Then one PM said, I'm going to give a try. There were others still skeptical, but one gave a try. Then that happened. And then they talk, hey, actually, it's quite nice, this thing here. So then the other said, what are you up now? What are you trying to do? So it started creating a kind of a momentum, and then people follow you. So that's what happened. But what I say on one of the things is, whenever I post about the book, I say, read the book if you are up for driving change, which will be a little bit troublesome. But I get energy from driving change. Not everyone gets this kind of energy. And if you say, hey, I'm just fine with status quo, I work, I get paid, and that's my life, and I'm fine with that. It's okay. It's your choice. I'm not challenging you. That's fine. Not everyone is I would say, a change agent. But if you feel like you are a change agent, this book's for you.
Well, the problem with the other approach, if you're not a change agent and you are okay with the status quo, and the status quo is troublesome, at the end of the day, you will not create value for the organization you're working for. And if we believe in creating value, because product managers, that's what we are there for, to create values to our clients, we are there for also to create value to anyone. And it goes to the entire organization, it goes to our team members, it goes to really everyone. So it's a bit troublesome if someone have that mindset and they're product managers.
It is. If I would be in the game, I would try helping people understand what product management is really about.
Mm-hmm.
It took me some time to figure that out. In the beginning, I thought it was about processes, tools, frameworks, and all of this. I was wrong. Product management is about collaboration. So you get together with loads of people, and you need to figure out how you're going to deliver value out of this collaboration. The only thing that matters is value for the business, value for the customer. If you're not doing that, something's wrong. It doesn't matter if you deployed the most interesting framework, if you're using the most advanced AI tool, that doesn't matter at all. If you have a beautiful product backlog, everything is perfect, your workflow doesn't matter. It matters the value created in the end of the day. So it's all about collaboration. And the top one skill for product managers is communication. So you need to simplify what gets unnecessarily complicated. That's hard, but that's the job.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. So by the time we are talking here, the paperback is out already, and I think for a week or something like that. And then you already have for a few weeks the digital version. Did you started getting feedback, and what are you hearing? Do you have already success stories from people that read the book?
Yeah, actually quite amazing. I'm very surprised what is happening up to now. So the feedback is quite positive. Many people drop me a message and say, that's what I needed. Finally, someone called what is happening that speaks to me and I can act. So it is great. So I started getting this story and someone said, I like it so much. I said, what do you like about it? The actionable insights you give from the beginning to the end. And some people are saying, although you call the first part as facing reality, you already start giving hints that I can benefit from in chapter 1. And I like this. And the others start saying, for me, it is so crazy because it goes from all pieces of the puzzle of product management, but you cover in a way I can understand and I can do something in my scenario. So I got already several reviews, and it's getting more interesting as people start writing to me saying what they're using. One thing that surprised me is that there are many agile coaches getting the book and they are seeing loads of value. And I asked them, what is the value for you? And then they said, I can have better conversations with product managers after that.
That's great to
That's very
hear.
interesting. My experience with agile coaches, and I worked with a few of them, and I did my full stint of agile coaching myself as a product owner, but I also transformed the company from waterfall to Scrum, making all the mistakes in the world back then. But my experience is that they're very keen and very narrow-minded about the delivery. It's all about the delivery. So that's really refreshing to hear that they see value in this, and they are seeing the value that after that experience, I always said agility is not for software development. Agility is for the product. So without the product, you don't need agility. And that's really great. That's great to hear. I'm happy to hear that. And you're right. Many books in the industry are not actionable, or they're very theoretical, and they do it with intention that there could be many ways to do the same thing. And although you do have some frameworks in the book that you adopted and are using over there, it's still very much you emphasize over there that it's just to help them think or to help them structure the things, but there could be different ways to do it.
Yeah, one of the things I share about the book is I don't own the truth. What I share there is how I do. May help you, probably can, but if you find a different way achieving the same result, go for that. And don't forget dropping me a message because I'm curious about it.
Perfect. Matt, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't have any other questions. I think this was a great conversation. And what I'll take away from this is definitely keeping it simple. I kind of always go back to humans will overcomplicate anything and everything if they can. So to your point in the book, I like your thoughts around simplicity and keeping it simple. You can't solve everything tomorrow. You can't make all the changes you want to tomorrow, but if you can take the initiative, make intermediate changes where you can, implement your ideas, show initiative, and I think you can ultimately make changes along the way. So take a simple approach. I like it a lot.
That's great. It is one of the principles I recommend in the book is solving current problems over future problems. Things tend to get more complicated than they needed because we try solving problems we don't have instead of the ones staring at our face. So I say, let's start simple. Let's just solve this problem that is shouting at our face. Let's not worry about the things that could potentially happen. They may not happen. Well, if they happen, then we address them. Of course, most of the case, this strategy could work, but if you are in the healthcare or if you are in another industry that is a matter of life and that, you need to take a different approach. But turns out that most of the products, they are not a matter of life and death. We can start simple.
Excellent.
Very nice. Where can people reach out to you?
Well, I would say LinkedIn is the place to go. They can, of course, subscribe to my newsletter, drop me a message, and so on. There's my website, quite reachable. So they will find me there.
And the website is?
d-pereira.com.
Perfect. And of course, they can find your book on Amazon. And is it also in the bookstores?
Yes, it is in Barnes & Noble. I think it is in some other bookstores. For now, it's like demand is dictating where the book goes to. So I would say available on Amazon, Pearson. If you don't find on Amazon, for sure it's available on Pearson. And I'm facing some nice challenge already. The book got sold out in Germany, got sold out in the Netherlands, and so on. And they are piling up the stock again. So you can always get the digital version, but choose the one you want. And I hope
Very
you
nice. Very
enjoy.
nice. Bestseller already. It was really great speaking with you, David. I really always enjoy talking with you and learning from you.
It was a
Same here.
pleasure.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you to all the listeners, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care. Thank you to all the listeners. We really appreciate the feedback and support. Please leave us a review to help others find the show. on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else you're listening to the show.